Hello, my name is Edward and welcome back to Pixels and Pinfalls. Slight different location here today because I am currently house sitting for somebody, hence the new surroundings. Hope you guys all had a Merry Christmas / Happy Holidays or whatever it is or wherever you are. Now, talking of Christmas, I do realise I was meant to talk about this before Christmas, but everything got very hectic and I just wasn't able to find the time to record. So, now that we're in that weird Christmas, New Year, dead zone thing, I thought, well, here we go, let's talk about it now. Maybe you guys can find one of these in the sales. I am, of course, talking about the old Mega Drive Mini. So what exactly is it? Let's have a bit of a look. So as we can actually see, what you get inside this box is the Mini Mega Drive itself. This obviously has all of the nuts and bolts in it. This is what contains all the games, so there's no way, at least no way that's been made obvious, of adding any games to this. There's not really kind of any bits and pieces to plug in for expansion, anything like that, unfortunately. But alongside this you do get two controllers, and these are sort of the size of the original controllers, and they fit in the front here with your USB cables. It comes with a proper HDMI cable as well to plug into all modern televisions, which is very handy. This will also mean that I can plug it into my capture card, so hopefully I can do some streaming with this thing in the new year. And finally, it comes with the kind of standard USB cable. There is technically no plug on this, so you've got to plug it into one of those USB type plugs, or I know that some new plug fixtures have USB slots in them, so you can plug it into one of those. I believe I read or heard something whereby you could plug it into another thing that's running off of the mains. I haven't tried this, to be honest, because I've got loads of those plugs with USB slot on them and it just works fine off of any of those, so that's not a problem. So that is what we sort of get within the box. So what is actually within the console itself? Well, there are 40 classic games and 2 bonus titles. I'm not going to go through every single game, and I've played this a few times and I haven't played as yet every single game on it. However, some kind of notable additions, things like Sonic 1 and 2, there is also Sonic Spinball and Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Other things like Streets of Rage 2, World and Castle of Illusion. There's old classics on here like Alex Kidd and Altered Beast, Road Rash, Golden Axe, Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition. You've got a couple of other cool little platformers in things like Earthworm Jim and Toe Jam and Earl. Echo the Dolphin is on there as well. Something I found very entertaining, and this is purely because I found what must be a kind of series sequel on the PlayStation 2 years ago, in Phantasy Star Universe, I believe it was called. But on here is Phantasy Star 4, effectively sort of an RPG, like an early Final Fantasy style. Now, as I said, I haven't played through all of the games. I don't even think I've played through all the games that I just mentioned there. But one thing I will say is they are a lot harder than I remember them being. Oh boy, how difficult some of the games were from sort of the late 80s, early 90s. You kind of forget in this world just how difficult some of these games were. And obviously they were marketed at children predominantly, so would have had less of a grasp on the concept of gaming and best kind of strategies for getting through levels and things like that. But this does not detract from the experience itself. It's quite nice to step away from the easy, sanitised world of modern gaming and try your hand at something that is really going to test you. And bearing in mind, obviously, none of these games are going to be as big and as expansive as games are now, it still means that as long as you're willing to put in the time and the effort and actually improve at the game, you're not going to be completing any of these within an hour and then never bothering to touch them again, because the longevity in the game is not just because it's big like games are now, it is in that repetition and improving your skill set and being able to get that a little bit further in the game, and then kind of failing again, going back to the drawing board and getting a little bit better and getting a little bit further each time in order to finally get to the end. The one good addition though with the Mini that we never had on the older games is the fact that you can save your game anywhere you like, and there are 4 slots per game within this system. All you have to do is hold down the start button for long enough, and this effectively freezes the whole thing and takes you into a sub-menu where you are able to either return to the game, save that kind of point within the internal system, or you can return to the main menu and quit out of the game. Obviously, if you want to quit out of the game, you can press the little reset button. Yes, it works, as does the on-off switch. Unfortunately, the volume slider, although it does slide, doesn't actually do anything. Obviously, it is very difficult to talk about things like the gameplay because there are so many different games, but all of the games that I played ran very, very smoothly. The controller was very, very responsive. This has obviously been polished and optimised perfectly for the system that it is running on. And of course, yes, the graphics are very kind of late 80s, early to mid 90s, but you kind of accept that and just move on, really. If you're going into this expecting to see like 2019, 2020 standard AAA games or even indie games, then you are going to be sorely disappointed. But if you go into it with that mindset, what the hell is wrong with you? These are games from some of them as early as things like 1988. They're not going to look that polished and pristine. What the hell is wrong with you? But yes, it was just very nice to kind of take a lovely trip back down memory lane, because most of these games were games that my friend who actually had a Mega Drive had, and I would often be found around his house with the second controller in my hand, or we'd swap between the first controller. And that is a nice thing. These games, a lot of them are 2-player, so that second controller will hopefully be used at some point. And you can sort the games out in terms of alphabetical order, so you can find what you're looking for. Release date order, just if you're a bit of a geek like me and you want to see them in their proper sequential order. But you can also split them between single player and multiplayer as well, so that if you are playing 2-player, you're not scrolling through going, no, can't play that one, no, can't play that one, can't play that one. You can just move over to the 1 and 2-player section and enjoy that. Interestingly, one of these games, which I can't remember the name of it and I'm not that familiar with it, said that it's 1 to 4 players. I'm not entirely sure how that's possible with only 2 controllers, unless it's one of those games where somebody has a go, then you move the controller over to somebody else and they have their go separately. That's the only thing I can assume, because there is no way of getting 4 controllers in this thing. We're not going to be having the old Sonic and Knuckles tower thing, and we don't have the Micro Machines stick your controller in the actual cartridge port job. That's not a thing with any of this. And that's really probably its only detriment, the fact that you can't add any more games to this. At least at this point, I can't see how you would be able to add any games to this. Whether they come up with kind of special cards and things that you can maybe plug in, but the only way I could really see you being able to do that is, say, plugging them into the controller 2 USB port, but then obviously you're taking away the second controller unless they fit a port for the second controller within this kind of card. My guess is they just won't, and maybe they'll re-release it in a year or two with more games on it, which is a bit of a shame. But let's face it, they're doing that with consoles now anyway. They're releasing a base console and then within a few years they're kind of like maxing it a bit more and re-releasing the console, and they don't even have any games on them. So that might be something that they do down the line, and is really the only kind of drawback I can see. Basically, if you have fond memories of any of these games, or you really are a gaming connoisseur and you want to kind of go through like old catalogues, these are pretty much the Mega Drive games that you're going to need and want if you're kind of going out and trying to find cartridges for your system. There are obviously one or two exceptions, not any real, well, I said Micro Machines earlier. I get that that wasn't a Sega exclusive game, so maybe that's why it's missing from here. However, saying that, Street Fighter and I'm pretty sure Streets of Rage were not Sega exclusives either. So there are kind of one or two notable exceptions, but not anything. There we go. That is the Mega Drive Mini, my kind of thoughts and feelings on it. If you have got one, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're wanting to go out and find one now, good luck to you. I believe they're still kind of around the £50–60 mark, but obviously we're now in the kind of Boxing Day / New Year sale, so you might be able to pick one up a little bit cheaper if you are lucky. If you do, please let me know where you get it from in the comments below and how much you're paying for this sort of thing. But for now, my name has been Edward, this has been Pixels and Pinfalls. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again very soon. Goodbye.
Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. To keep up to speed with everything we're doing, you can find us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. If you wish to support us financially, you can do so over on Patreon for as little as $1 per month. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell icon so that you don't miss out on any future videos. Till next time, we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.